The gods of Asgard had traveled to visit the place of Aegir, a sea deity much worshipped by sailors. The banquets in his place were legendary, as a formidable mead was served. But Aegir was in no mood to organize a great feast for the gods. He made up an excuse.
I would love to welcome you with all my hospitality, but since you are many, I won't be able to produce the mead you desire so much. To satiate the gods, you would need a huge cauldron. Without it, it is impossible.
Tyr, the god of war, whose father was a huge giant named Hymir, knew that his progenitor had a huge cauldron that would satisfy Aegir's needs. Tyr and Thor decided to go in search of the giant. When they arrived at the giant's home, the gods of Asgard were greeted by Tyr's mother. The god asked his mother to lend him the huge cauldron, but she replied that Tyr should please Hymir, as it would be the easiest way to get what he wanted. The giant Hymir invited the gods to a meal. Thor was famous for being a great glutton and confirmed his reputation by devouring a whole ox. Faced with this, the giant said,
I'm going out to fish for some whales. I don't want to be known as a host who failed to feed his guests.
Thor wanted to go with the giant on his fishing trip, but Hymir didn't care.
This is not a job for the tiny residents of Asgard.
The god of thunder felt challenged and claimed that he was a better fisherman than anyone else. The giant pushed a boat into the water, and they set out to fish. The gods headed out to the open sea in search of larger prey. Hymir quickly caught something, and considering the strength required, the giant thought it would be something exceptionally large. A large whale jumped out of the water with the hook in its mouth, and the giant challenged Thor to catch something bigger. But Thor replied that he could fish for something even bigger, and paddled off into deeper water.
You are crazy, Asgardian. This is the territory of Jormungand, the Serpent of the world.
Despite Hymir's warning, Thor was not afraid and used a bull's head as bait to start his fishing trip. The god felt he had caught something big, and the boat began to be pulled by the creature. The gigantic serpent emerged, as Thor had succeeded in capturing Jormungandr. Desperate, Hymir shouted for Thor to cut the fishing line, otherwise they would be taken to the bottom of the ocean. But Thor had already met Jormungandr once, when he visited the palace of Utgard. Thor was defeated, but he had sworn to himself that he would eventually defeat the colossal serpent. The fight between the god and the serpent continued, and Hymir feared that they would be taken to the bottom of the ocean. Thor tried to bring the creature within reach of his hammer. Just as the god was about to strike the beast, Hymir cut the fishing line, and Jormungandr escaped at the last moment. Thor was furious and would have smashed Hymir's head in had he not fathered Tyr. After all, they still needed the cauldron. After filling their stomachs with whale meat, the gods set off with the cauldron. With the cauldron, Aegir made plenty of mead for the gods, who had a great time during their stay in the sea god's palace. But while all the gods were having fun, Thor couldn't forget Jormungandr, and vowed that he would kill that dark creature. They were destined to meet again in Ragnarok.